Welcome back. So this is lecture 7, conditional statements, covers section 4.4 from our textbook. Conditional statements. We have already seen some examples of conditional statement. Now you'll recognize it. Conditional statement is an if statement. It is another control structure. So far what are the control structures? We have seen loops, for loop, while loop, then we saw functions, and now conditional statements. The syntax for an if statement is if condition colon body. Body is indented. What does that mean? If this condition is true, implement all these commands in the body. All right. The flow chart for an if statement is given. You come here from above, there is a condition. If that condition is true, then go through and execute all these statements in the body and then get out after you're done with it. If you're false, then you don't touch this. You just go directly to anything that comes after if statement. All right. For example, dinner is input. So you're asking for a question from the user. What would you like for dinner? If dinner, this is not just an equal, mind you, it's double equal. When you type set, they join. Double equal, so it's a question, it's a condition. If dinner double equal pizza, then print great. Print I love pepperoni and black olives. So these are the statements to be executed if dinner were pizza. Otherwise, you simply ignore this. All right. Here is another example. The condition. The condition can be a Boolean expression. That is, you could have an or an and. For example, if length of groceries is greater 15 or milk, the string milk is in groceries. Groceries is probably a list, colon, then print, go to the grocery store. Here is another example. If length of groceries is greater than 15 and milk in groceries, colon. So you see, this is an entire expression. This is an entire expression. Okay, you could have an entire expression. Now, what goes in the body? The body of the loop is indented after the if statement. Okay, the body could contain another conditional statement. Okay, which is, see, if you have an if within an if, it's called nested if statements. Here, if party started, so presumably this is a Boolean value, takes either true or false. If party started, colon, go back, you are indented. If person in guest, colon, so guest is presumably a list or a tuple. If person in guest, then print welcome. So both have to happen. So you see, this is a nested if, but it doesn't have to be, because you have to have this happen as well as this happen. Recognize it? So that is same as saying and. If party started and person in guest, then print welcome. So don't forget colon. All right. So sometimes nested if is simply one sentence, one if condition. Okay, but not always, because you have something more coming. Okay, and that is if, elif, else. Then those are difficult to. It's better for readability to have nested ifs. So the point I'm making is nested if is sometimes useful, sometimes not. Okay, it's a matter of taste. Now, this is an important notion. If you understand it, it's very good. If you don't understand it, just give it some time. You see, Python uses a technique known as short circuiting. where a partial evaluation of a Boolean expression suffices. You see, x and y. If x is true, then you check for y. You see, if x is false, then you don't have to check for y. Do you understand what I'm saying? And requires both of them to be true. If the first one is false, you have your answer already. Okay? So if the first one is false, then your result is going to be false. You don't have to check the second one. That's the short circuit. So you see, your program becomes efficient if you put the easier one first. You understand what I mean? You put something that is easier to evaluate, more efficient or shorter to evaluate here. That way, if it's false, you're home already. Result is false, you don't have to check why. If this is true, then you have to check the second one. Okay? So if this is true and y is true, answer is true. If this is true and y is false, answer is false. In other words, if x is true, x and y has the same value that y has. Y is true, answer true. Y is false, answer false. Okay? So you go to y only if x is true. Okay? So that's the short circuit. If x is false, you don't even have to check y. Same thing with OR. If x is true in this case, well, OR is going to be true. I don't have to check y. So Python stops going further. It only checks the first one. If it's true, you're done. If it's false, then you have to check whether y is true. Okay? So what is the advantage of short circuiting? Sometimes you don't have to check the other guy. And that helps in efficiency. So when you start coding larger and larger programs, then it's very important that the first one be easier to check. Okay? Easier or more efficient. Your program becomes efficient if the more efficient piece is kept in the front, because that's the one that's going to be checked every time. All right? Now, here is an example of nested control structures. Suppose balance is 0. So this looks like it's an accumulator. Balance is 0 for entry in transactions. Increase the balance by entry. So balance is balance plus entry. On the other hand, if balance is less than 0, in other words, say you have some enough negative entries, then you have withdrawn a lot. Balance is negative, then you have to print overdraft warning. So notice this is a nested, so this is an if nested inside a loop. Okay. Second syntax for if, that is a condition, if else syntax. If condition body 1 else, that is condition is false, then body 2. Okay. So the flow chart here is, you're coming from the top, you have a condition. If it's true, go through or implement or execute body 1 commands. If the condition is false, go through and execute commands in body 2. So that's important. Body 1, body 2. Here is a small example. Deposit total is 0, withdrawal total is 0. Go through a loop in transactions. If the entry is positive, add it to the deposit total. Else in this case is entry is not positive. If it's not positive, then it's 0 or negative. All right? Don't forget the option of 0. If entry is not positive, that is if this condition fails, then entry is negative or 0, in which case else applies. you're going to add to your withdrawal total. Okay. And the last option is if, elif, else. So notice you can have simply an if condition or if else condition or if, elif, else. Now if you have several conditions, okay, if condition 1, then implement body 1, elif condition 2, implement body 2, elif condition 3, implement body 3, all the way until default is else. Okay, so here is a concrete example. Let's type this one. New file, and this is a, oh, maybe we can do this in our next video. I'm afraid this video may be very long. I'll come back to this video, this example soon enough.